All right, so we're currently rendering this set of users from a hard-coded array that we have that exists here in the client, right? So realistically, what we'd like to be able to do is retrieve this from a server. A server would be hosting all this content, right? And perhaps backed by some database. Right. So let's switch gears, and we're going to need another um, IDE that can manipulate Java and compile Java and create to do some server-side programming. I'm going to use STS, but if you prefer to use IntelliJ or Eclipse or some other, then feel free to use that. STS is an Eclipse-based IDE that it was designed to work very well with Spring Boot, which is basically what we're doing, right? Let's see. So last week when we met, we did implement this simple server, and I think we didn't do any Java, did we? I don't believe so. No. Oh, yeah, actually, we might have. No. Okay. No. This is not it. Sorry. This is Spring 2019. Did we? Perhaps not. Okay, I'm going to import the project that we created last week. I'm going to say import. And we're going to go, it's an existing Maven project. And I'm going to navigate. It's summer, fall, and there it is. Summer 2019. I'm going to open that up. Say finish. And there we go. Excellent. Right. So this is the server where our current HTML, our current JavaScript is being hosted. No, where is it? This one. There we go. If you go into source web app, you'll see all the code that we've been working on. So there's our admin, there's our JavaScript, our HTML. This is the same exact content that we have on WebStorm. Right, it's the same identical content. There's our JavaScript, right? This is our hard-coded array. So it's the same exact content, right? The only difference here is that WebStorm is only let me remove that. It's only set up to optimize to deal with web-related technologies, front-end web development technologies such as JavaScript and whatnot, okay, HTML, CSS. Whereas here we have additionally be able to implement Java code. Okay. All right. So we want to be able to replace this. So instead of being hard coded on the client, we wanted to go fetch all this content from a server. So how do we do that? All right. So what we're going to do is that from Java here, notice that this is our entry point to our application lives under this package: com.xml, webdev, su19, Januzzi, server Java. Okay, this is our main entry point. There it is. It's the main function, right? And this is where it runs, right? So this is the entry point. And if we want to run it, we can run the server right here. We can say run as Java application. This is going to compile. It's going to package. It's going to deploy locally, and it's going to start listening at port 8080. So we can try it out. Let's see if it worked. We can say localhost 8080. Let's see what we got there. So this is the page we worked on last week. We can go to our admin that is under source main web dev, right? There it is. I'm just going to copy that. This was just editing the file locally. So I'm going to close that. And instead, I'm going to go to the server and fetch it. I'm going to fetch it. Paste. Oops, I missed a slash. There it is. So we are the same identical page we saw earlier, but now it's being hosted by a server. The server is returning this, as opposed to me opening the file from the Finder or from the file system. Right? This is a file that is being sent over to this from the server, right? Which is currently running locally on my machine. All right. Anyway, so what I'd like to be able to do is have the server not only allow me to fetch this static HTML, right, with the JavaScript running and whatnot, but not only allow me to fetch these ASCII files, right? These are physical files on the server. We also want to be able to go fetch actual data that might be retrieved from some database and whatnot. So how do we do that? Well, we need to tell the server how to represent the data that we want to expose, right? So we're going to do that right here under the same package. It needs to be under the same package of where our main function is, or main class is. That same package, we're going to create another sub package off of that. So we're going to say new class, and notice that we have the package. There's the package. That's the base package. Under there, we're going to create another sub package. We're going to call it models. In there, we're going to put the data that we want to expose, right, to the client. We want to send back to the client. So under models, and then we're going to create here. It's a user model. So finish. Right, and here we're going to structure the data that we want to expose to the rest of the world. Right, we want to have a private long ID, right, to represent what? To represent this, right? This is going to be a long, or it's a variable called ID. It's going to be a long or an integer, a string username, a string first name, and whatnot. So let's do that. Let's keep going. So this is our ID, our private string username, private string password, right? Private string first name, and so on and so forth. Yep, I'm going to leave the rest for you folks. Well, maybe not the password. Right, and so we have the structure of the data that we want. We also need some setters and getters. That is mandatory. So we're going to use a source. We're going to generate a couple of setters and getters automatically. I'm very lazy, so I'm going to have the IDE do it for me. It's going to create a whole bunch of setters and getters. There they are. Right. Also, we're going to create a couple of constructors that take all the arguments. There we go. There's our user. We also need the no argument constructor. That's mandatory. Right. The select no arguments. There we go. We have everything. Excellent. So we have the data that we want to expose. Excellent. How do we expose this data? How do we make it available to the rest of the world? How do we do that? Yes.
Sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead, please.
This is recorded, right? And will the code that you're going through today be made available? Because I can't stay, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, all this is recorded. I'm recording it on Blackboard, and I'm also recording it locally on my machine.
Okay, and the code will be made available after this?
Yep, I'm going to put it on a GitHub repository and make it available to everybody.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I have to take leave, but
sure, that's fine.
Look through it.
Totally fine.
Tomorrow or the day after. Thank you.
Good luck. All right, so we've created the data model, and now we want to make it available. Right, and the way we're going to do that is through a URL HTTP RESTful controller. All right, let's do that next.